welcome back to Wealth Dynasty. We're glad to have you here today. We have a great episode. We're going to talk about buy-sell agreements and kind of, I guess, the ticking time bomb for any business partnerships. So we want to educate a lot on the funding part of these buy-sell agreements. If you are a business owner, if you know a business owner that's in a partnership, then this is an episode for them. Or if you're thinking about starting, or if you already have a partnership set up, time to revisit that. And without further ado, we'll get into it. Welcome back, Kurt.
Great to be here, Mark. Thank you. Welcome to Wealth Dynasty.
So glad to have you here today.
So buy-sell agreements. So buy-sell agreement is simply an agreement between business owners as to what's going to happen when a business owner passes away, gets disabled, or retires.
Perfect.
Okay, so that covers those items.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we say business partners. It can be one or two partners. It can be, 10 shareholders. It can be any number of people that need to be insured in a situation like that. Now, of course, insurance is not required. However, if there is no agreement in place or there is no funding for that agreement, then big trouble happens.
That could be disastrous, and that's happened so many times.
Many times. So what happens there is that all of a sudden you have another party that's an owner of the business, possibly the spouse or family members of the deceased person.
So let's take an example. Let's say there's like 3 business partners. They're all equal owners, and the business, it's a startup, but it's going to blow up. Go ahead. What do you do there?
Okay, so part of the operating agreement is really the buy-sell agreement. And it should be specified in there what's going to happen if a partner dies, is disabled, they can't function anymore, or retires. The sooner you do it, the better. Okay. And as far as funding goes in this startup, you don't need a lot. Depends on the size of the startup, of course. Okay, so it can be a $1 billion startup. It can be $100,000 startup. Correct. And depending on the size and so forth, that determines how much insurance will be needed. But if it's a modest startup, say it's a $5 million startup, you got 3 partners. You want to make sure that the surviving spouse or the surviving family members, whoever the estate of that, the business partner. So we want to talk about later about partners or shareholders. There's a differentiation there.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that a little bit later. 3 business owners, whether the partners or shareholders, they die. Now, let's say it's a spouse. The spouse may have totally different interests in how that business is operated.
Maybe the spouse, he or she does not either know anything about the business.
Right.
Like, let's say, the husband's like an HVAC specialist. Mm-hmm. He knows everything about that. She's maybe a nurse or something, other complete profession that has nothing to do. And so she may not know anything, or she may not have interests.
Correct. And so, when I say their interests are different. Maybe while the guy's working, they want to grow.
Yeah.
Okay. But one of the owners passes away, the spouse or the family may have a totally different idea. They want income from that business, which will not growth. And so they're going to have a say in how that business is run. They may want to just, cool down the growth so that the income to them is higher.
Yeah.
That's a big conflict, especially with the other 2 business owners that still exist may want to
keep growing.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, the buy-sell agreement basically outlines everything, what's going to happen, how we're going to sell it, how we're going to evaluate the business right now while everybody's alive and co-parent before a situation like that happens. That kind of
right. So the example, let's say it's a $5 million startup. So maybe each partner has the 1.75 million. I'm not doing the math in my head and find out right. Okay, on them to that represents their piece of the business in terms of life insurance. But if let's say there's no insurance in place, well, the startup guy dies, the startup's going, all of a sudden that startup has to buy that family member out to get rid of that interest. How are they going to do that? Well, get loans or cash.
I mean, and first your business, that's a strain. Yeah. I mean, you may not have a cash flow. You may already be on loans.
Right.
You may already, there's lots of factors. And the business evaluation at that point, like, there's a few different ways to evaluate a business. And if that wasn't determined before, like, you really have to plan. But if not, you're going to run into a disaster.
Well, and to that point, when you start up with the buy-sell agreement and the funding, you got to evaluate the business at that point.
At the point,
Okay. And then you have to have in the provisions, you're going to increase the coverage as the business grows in value. So every 2 or 3 years, or if there's some big growth year, maybe the next year, maybe 5 years, it has to be reevaluated.
Okay. And all that would be stipulated in the contract of the buy-side.
Correct. And if if they start off, they have a certain amount in place, but the business blows up, they don't catch up with that on the insurance side, then of course there's still the same problems exist. Okay. And typically what you want to start, if it's a startup situation, you're going to start off with term insurance typically. But what you want is some term insurance that's convertible so that you can convert to permanent as the business becomes more established. And you may want to get a little extra into thinking the business is going to grow.
Correct.
Because you want to have a little cushion.
Yeah, there are some policies with the term and permanent that you can get riders that increase coverage at certain increments.
Yeah, you can. And the insurance companies know that businesses, they expect them to grow. So they may allow you to get a little bit more than what would normally be allowed because
it's funding specifically for this purpose.
Right. Yep. And so those are some things to take into consideration. Those are good questions. But let's jump into the types of buy-sell agreements and how they're funded. Okay.
Reference knows it. There's like 2 or 3.
There's like 4 types of
coverage. So,
and they all have different tax ramifications and different funding situations. Okay. So the simplest is what's called a cross purchase. And that simply means if there's 2 people, it's fantastic. Easy. Okay. One policy. So Mark, you'd own a policy on me. I would own a policy on you. Okay. You'd have to pay the higher premium because I'm older than you. Yeah. But maybe the business could always that out. Okay. But you own that policy personally. I own the policy on you personally. And when something happens to me, for example, then you would get that policy, and it would part of the agreement says you have to buy that portion of that business out.
There's a requirement to buy that.
Right.
It's not like I could just keep the cash and no, that is
require it.
All parts to
part of the agreement.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless, there can be a way. There can be provisions in there that if the existing partner wants to be part of it, there can be different situations that you can have it open a little bit, but there must be a purchase. Yeah. And that's the simplest. You only don't need more policies than that.
So in that situation, would it make sense that the company or a trust that owns this company or a holding company own that policy, or just keep it
between 2 people? Yeah, it's so easy. It's no deal. Keep it very simple. I go, okay. Well, you get more people, you get 3, it gets a little more complex. 4 or 5, that doesn't work that well.
Yeah.
Because that means that in a cross purchase, if there's 4 of us, I would have to own a policy on A, B, and C, and all together. Okay, so that's a lot of policies. It becomes quite complex and very cumbersome. Yeah. Okay, so then we switch to other types of situations. But if just 2 people, the simple cross purchase is the easiest. And what happens there when a triggering event occurs, so someone passes away, then if I die, that means you get a step up in basis in my portion of the business. Okay, which means that when you sell the business eventually, whatever the business is worth when I pass away, is the basis.
Is the new basis.
Zero basis.
Yeah. So when capital gains comes at my time of exit, my basis was higher, and I only pay capital gains on the top,
Right.
instead of from when we started.
Correct. Right. So that's a nice benefit
So it's a nice benefit.
of a cross purchase type of agreement. The cons to the cross purchase again, or if you have multiple owners, it's complex.
Yeah. Let's get the.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next type, which is very common, is called entity purchase, which means the business owns the policy. The business is the beneficiary. Okay. And if that's the situation, then you only need one policy per owner or partner. And those are the most common typically. You can run it. You don't get a step up in basis.
Why would that? Why not?
Because the business owns it.
The business of this, so there even else there is a benefit. It makes absolute sense.
So the money flows into the business.
In the business, it's not like I got any capital gains there. I got it's a business. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay, so there's no step up in basis. But the simplicity is significant.
Yeah.
Okay. And the business pays for the policy, so there's no worry because I'm 30 years older than you. That's not an issue. Okay. Now, there is a way to get around that step up in basis issue by creating a trustee plan. Okay. So here, in this situation, you have a trustee.
No, that would be the same. The same.
Let's say one policy per
Person. Okay.
Okay. There'd be probably a separate LLC
Okay.
that owns the policies
Is over.
that's managed by a trustee.
Okay.
And in that situation, you can still, if it's properly drafted, you can still maintain a step up in basis. So, okay, for the survivors partners. Okay. And that, of course, requires an extra LLC, requires a trustee.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay. Over.
And so those are the additional expense there.
Yeah, you really got to plan these. So you really think you're gonna have a lot of growth. A step up in basis that's a huge.
Oh yeah,
Like very significant in tax savings.
yeah. So there's another thing called a wait and see, which is kind of a hybrid.
Okay.
Which is it's just one policy per person, but you wait to see at the trigger event what's going to be the most favorable, whether it's to do a cross purchase situation or a entity purchase situation. So it's kind of similar to the trustee plan, Merape. But
Well, at that point, if there was trigger event, if this is structured correctly, obviously, that's where your CPA or whatever would run the numbers and say it makes more sense to do this in the current situation because we've had a couple of down years, or it makes sense to be this because we've grown a lot.
yeah, and it's a wait and see. But again, the most important thing here is have them funded properly, but you must have it drafted properly also with someone that knows what they're doing. And this is not something you would do in LegalZoom. Okay.
This is not something you would do with AI.
Right.
This is not something that you do with AI. Listen to me now. I'm not playing. Okay. Calmly versus the United States. Do you want to go to that or I could brief you to it? Yeah. So 2024, two brothers had drafted their buy-sell agreement, and when one of the two brothers passed away, the money went to the other partner. Basically, the IRS said, "Oh, is that $3 million you just got is now taxable income," and he didn't plan to have money to pay for the taxable income because it was, $3 million worth of growth for the company because it's improperly set up. So the whole point is you really need to make sure these are set up correctly. Now that went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and it was a unanimous decision by the Supreme Court that the IRS was correct because of the way this was set up. So IRS doesn't pay on taxes,
Right.
so, but if you can take care of yourself correctly with a good plan on the front end with a very competent structuring, tax lawyer, that is going to save you infinite amounts of headache, strain of relationships. I mean, if it comes down to anything, you're going to, someone passes away and you're fighting over money, that's a major strain on a relationship that it doesn't have to be strained because it brined.
Right.
So
One more structure I want to mention to you is the one-way sale agreement. So that's if there's just a single business owner, okay? But they're concerned about that business being bought out to their family members as opposed to just let the business die. So that can be set up so that there may be a key employee. There may be, other employees who want to buy the business if that owner dies. And so life insurance policy is taken out on that person. The business owns it. If they die, that life insurance policy provides the funding to purchase the business.
like a key man would purchase the business from the old owner, so they can take it and run with it.
Right. The family, of course, then gets money.
And they get paid out
Yeah.
and then depending, I'm sure, on the structure, they could keep or sell the shares or.
So, yeah, there could be a number of different arrangements. It could be a partial buyout. It could be enough to buy the majority of the business. There could be a number of things there. It could be funded with life insurance or disability insurance. And then if any additional money is needed, it can be funded through loans or cash.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's just another option that's out there. You don't see it very often. Probably should see it much more often than it actually exists because
That's a common situation.
very common situation. A business that nobody to pass it on to,
Yeah.
or they own the whole thing and there's nobody to actually pass the business on. Not the money itself, but the business itself, so that that business could continue. Very responsible thing to do, to provide for that, and also to provide for your family.
Yeah, I mean, if you really love your business and you want it to continue the legacy that you built, and maybe you have, a prodigy or somebody you're training up in the business, or some, apprentice that is just not at the point to take over the business yet, but they might be in 5 years, or they might be once you pass, it's going to accelerate that. I know, but this helps with the funding in a situation like that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay, or many other situations, but that's just an idea.
So now let's talk about what happens when someone retires. Okay, they got these life insurance policies in place. The person retires, and then you got to transfer the value of that policy to the rest of the folks. Okay, person retires, so there are transfer for value rules, and those are that. It varies depending upon the structure. Let's talk about what transfer for value means. So transfer for value means essentially you're selling a policy. Okay. And when you sell a policy, if you buy it for value, let's say that I have a policy on myself,
Life
insurance policy, and the cash value is $100,000. Okay, maybe the death benefit's worth $300,000, and you want to buy that policy out. Okay, so if you buy it from me, and you're not a business partner or anything like that, you buy that policy, then and you pay $100,000, pay $150,000 for it. Okay. Anything up, any death benefit above what do you pay for it is subject to tax. Okay. Okay. Always switch piece of property, anything like that.
Yeah.
Transfer for value.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
Now there are some exceptions to that. Okay. So, and the exceptions are transferred to the insured themselves. Okay, there's no tax situation there. Transfer to a partner of the insured. Now, that refers to a true partnership.
Yeah.
Not just a shareholder,
No, sure.
but a partner.
Okay.
If a shareholder buys it out, then that can cause a problem, because that's the same as just buying it for someone's rear. Okay. You can also transfer it to a partnership if the insured is a partner, and you can transfer it to a corporation in which the insured is a shareholder or officer. Okay, so you transfer the corporation without having the death benefit become taxable. Okay. Or if its policy is given as a gift, there's no transfer for value. Okay.
But if you would have to abide by the gifting laws.
Correct.
Rules were.
Right. And the new owner's basis carries over from the old owner's basis. It's a gift. Okay. But the basis is simply your premium paid, basically, But if you transfer to a fellow shareholder, that's where problems occur.
There.
Okay. So, so at a cross-purchase agreement at issue, there's no problem. But the problems that show up later when a ownership changes, for example, an owner retires and sells out, the retiring owner's policies on remaining owners need to go somewhere, often transferred to a new incoming owner or reallocated among the shares, the others holders. That causes a problem. Okay, that's in a cross purchase. Entity or stock redemption agreement is generally safe. Usually there's no transfer for values arise in that structure. Hybrid, there can occur. It has to be carefully drafted. Yeah. And a trust deed buy-sell agreement, that typically avoids the cross-purchase track. And that's really a good solution because it avoids most of those traps.
Okay.
So to recap, buy-sell agreements are essential to avoid horrible outbids. It protects the shareholders, protects the partners, protects the families, protects the estates, protects the business.
Continuity of the business. I mean,
because that's one thing can destroy a business. You have lawsuits between former owner spouses, families, estates, and the business can be quite expensive. And if there's no money there to handle it, it's a disaster. So the funding of the life insurance with disability insurance is also very important. Harder to get, but super important in these situations. And there are specific buy-sell disability policies available.
so those are harder to get. Why?
Your health has to be really good.
Good, yeah.
Ages also kind of affect that.
What is there cutoff on age?
Probably 60 or over is pretty hard. But those are things that should be done early on. And just would encourage people to pay attention to that. This is an area that is highly neglected, highly overlooked.
Yeah.
And nothing more than lawyers love is to come in a situation like that and, they can really dig in and, a lot of controversy there, and they can make a lot of money. And you can solve this problem up front without all those issues. And it's a big problem solved.
It really is. I mean, it's just sitting down with your partners, your business partners, and maybe even with the families so everybody can all get together and say, look, inevitably our business at a certain point, whether we determine it's going to be 10 years in this business together and that's it, or whether we keep trying to make this, Ford or whatever that's going to go forever, as we hope, we have to have a plan. And getting with a confident lawyer that's going to structure these buy-sell agreements and then funding them properly. Now, let's talk about funding, because we talked about the structures a bit. But what does it mean, and how are these plans funded? How are these structures funded?
Okay, so let's say there's a trigger event, someone dies. Okay.
if there's life insurance in place, that can fund a substantial portion of all or a substantial portion. The other way to fund it is through loans, which you may not be able to get a loan if a key person just passes away. Yeah, and they affect your ability to get a loan. Yeah. Cash. Okay. Or you may have to have to pay it out over time. Installments. And or you may have to compromise some of your business plans to provide income to the family members so that the spouse or the other family would be stable.
Yeah, instead of our plans for growth, we got to allocate those resources to payouts. Yeah. That could be disastrous for our business.
And that can, that's an easy place to find controversy.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, if you hadn't had this conversation up front to determine what we're going to do in any of these events, it's literally a ticking time bomb. Yeah. Like, now let's talk about retirement. Let's say, you have been in the business for 20 years, and after that, one of us or both of us are going to retire. How will we fund that? That's not going to be term insurance. That's going to be a IUL or...
Yeah, so that's a great question for an established business that has foresight. You can use a sort of deferred compensation plan.
Okay.
That can tie into the buy-sell agreement. And in that deferred compensation plan, the policy would then be available, the cash value would be available to fund for retirement. Okay. And typically what happens there is that the business would take a tax deduction for the distribution.
Okay.
And the recipient would pay taxes on that distribution.
So there's
no tax so in other words, there's no tax in the distribution of life insurance to the business. Okay. The business would take a tax deduction by distributing the money to the former employee. And the former employee would pay a tax on that distribution. That's one way of doing it. There's other ways as well, but that's probably the most common.
Okay.
And that kind of a deferred compensation plan could be set up in numerous ways. They don't have to insure every single person. They can fund it with variable life or index universal life, and fund quite a bit of money in there.
Then they'd be more of an accumulation product or travel.
More of an accumulation product.
That's a rope out of money, right? Okay.
That variable life's a good choice there.
The X plus the so. We talk about the term policies, and maybe if you have a really set term, we're going to be in business together for 10 years. That's it. We're going to go a long ways after that.
If you have term insurance, let's say you start off with a 10-year term, but make sure it's a convertible 10-year term.
Yeah.
So that you can convert it without additional medical questions during that first 10 years or so to make sure that you can then go to a permanent type policy, get some accumulation going once the business can handle it.
Yeah, so let's say our business in 10 years explodes. We have tons of cash, but I become uninsurable during that time. Let's say instead of us, doing some of the policies, I just convert mine to and then I become the owner and the beneficiary. My family becomes the beneficiary of my own policy. Is that a possibility, or could you write that in the stipulations, or is there?
There's a thing called split dollar agreement out there, which is a possibility. That's not a topic for today. It's kind of complex.
We'll pull another episode.
Yeah. So that's a possibility, but really in a deferred compensation situation, you don't have to insure every single person, and the deferred compensation you can insure different people to pull for those policies because the business owns the policies.
Okay.
You can pull for those policies to pay people. It doesn't have to be the same person that's insured.
Correct. Yeah, they're all community fashion. It's all tax free. Yeah. Now, that comes, I'm sure a lot of our guests are going to be thinking to themselves, what if one of the business partners is uninsurable?
Right. There's some solutions there. If you have 10 or more, we can get them insured.
10 or more partners that are trying to get set up.
Right.
And one of that 10 is completely uninsured.
You can get guaranteed insurance at 10.
Oh,
Okay.
so
Okay. That's possibility.
that's like the minimum amount of people that you would need in a partnership for a guarantee.
Right. Otherwise,
That's a gem right there. Like,
yeah. Otherwise, you assure the others, build up enough cash value to create the buyout situation. That's the cash value available here.
okay. Besides insurance,
So and you don't have to use insurance to fund it. You can use cash.
use cash. You know, insurance is just it's a second layer. It's like the death benefit plus the cash value,
Right.
plus the fact that it's the tax benefits. The tax benefits are crazy, right? It just makes tons of sense.
Yeah. So the tax benefits being a tax deferred growth in the cash value, tax-free withdrawals from the cash value, and a tax-free debt.
Tax or debt. I mean, that is crazy. As long as it's structured correctly, right? As we talked about earlier. Man, that's good. So if you have an existing business pre-2024 and you set up a buy-sell agreement, get with your lawyer just to review that. Please do that for the future of your business, for your family, for everybody that's involved. Please take a look at that. Go revisit that just to make sure that what you have is bulletproof. Okay. If you are unsure, it's worth taking a look at. And if you don't have anything set up, we are very well connected with the Florida State Bar for the Tax Association. If you want to reach out to us, we can refer you to 2,000 friends of ours, really good friends of ours, and then we are the ones that do the funding for those. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening today. And this is just a critical area that is not paid attention to. People want to blow it off and not pay attention, but when the time when this stuff hits, it's a disaster.
absolutely, yep,
It's a big concern.
yeah. Better safe than sorry, especially if you really care about your business. I mean, you do. That's why you're doing this. It's the reason you're doing this. So take an extra little bit of time, an extra little bit of money, slow down a second, get everything in order, and then you're going to be at peace of mind. I mean, it's awesome. Be awesome. So any other ideas?
The other thing is, you mentioned different pre-2024.
Lots of people set these up and then they don't readjust
Based on the growth. So, or just at the beginning, partner, you get a new partner, new investor, and they have to be reevaluated from time to time. Really, depending on the rate of growth, 2 to 5 years.
Unless you're having explosive, like we're selling, sell up at somebody something that everybody wants, or doing something Santa wants. All right. That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining us today. Hope you all learned something from this. And if you have a buy-sell agreement, if you're a partnership, take a look at it. If you don't, talk to us or talk to your legal professional and to whoever is doing your insurance to get yourself funded. So thanks again. We'll see you all in the next episode.